Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to look at a watch that has gone a little bit under the radar up until recently, and I've had this watch for about 5 or 6 months now. So I wanted to show you everything about it, my opinions on it. It's the new, new-ish Orient Triton. So let's get right into it here, and this is the box it comes in. I ordered mine from Long Island Watch, which is a authorized dealer for Orient, and it comes in a very nice box, double boxed. As you can see, it comes with the Orient logo, and then a nice padded box. Sorry, you're a little tight in on this, but it'll be fine once we get the actual watch out. So let's get the big box out of the way. I like Orient. They put a little bit more thought into some of their packaging, a little bit more than Seiko, but in the end, we don't really buy it for the packaging, do we? It's just nice. So nice padded case that it comes in. This watch retails right now, most places you get it around $400. I've seen them up closer to $450. I think when they're not on sale, that's probably about where they'll be at. So let's open it up, and there it is. So let's take it out of the case and get a closer look at it. Comes with all the warranty card, of course, warranty cards. I already have the bracelet sized. So let's get into the actual watch here. Now this is the replacement for the Orient M-Force, which they were. I will move the camera in just a little bit closer here so everyone can get a better look at it. And I almost bought an Orient M-Force a while ago, but then I ended up buying the Seiko, what was known as the Baby Tuna. And I like that watch, but eventually I just grew tired of it. As you can see, I do wear this watch. This has a, let's do the dimensions first. So I'll get my calipers out here, and I'll turn them on. There we go. And they're zeroed out. Okay, now, this watch, many have been saying, is something that rivals the SKX, the Seiko SKX. In my opinion, it's a little bit more watch than that. As you can see, right around 43 millimeters. With the thickness is right around 14. There you go, 14. And then the lug to lug is around right at about 51. So not a bad size. It is a little on the bigger side, but not bad at all. I like wearing it. I don't mind a little bit bigger watch. 45 millimeters, kind of my top, the top size that I go for. But this one, it fits the bill just right in terms of size for me. Some people, I'm sure, would rather it be a little smaller, but I think for most people, the 43 millimeters, it wears very nicely. I don't think that will be an issue. So we'll jump a little further into it here. What this does have on a lot of its Seiko competition is two main things, I would say. First, you get an anti-reflective sapphire coating. See it bouncing off the lights there. You can see there's just a little bit of a blue coating on there. It's not the strongest anti-reflective, but it's certainly better than nothing. And it is, if I haven't said, it is sapphire, which of course, if you are into your Seikos, you'll appreciate that. Although I personally don't mind Hardlex one bit. The second thing is it comes, like a lot of Orients, it comes with a power reserve indicator, which is really nice to have on a diver. There you can see it's a flat sapphire, no domed, which I would have liked to have seen, but not the end of the world. It does sit just below the bezel there, so that'll help the the crystal stay protected, although the crystal is probably tougher than the bezel insert, which is aluminum, which is fine. I don't mind that. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of the high gloss look of ceramic bezels. So let's unscrew the crown. I should mention this is not ISO certified like a Seiko SKX, but it's actually JIS, which is the Japanese industrial standard to dive watches, basically. So very similar standard, more than likely just as stringent. Screw down crown there. As you can see, there's a little black indicator. Let me grab my little tool here. There's a little black indicator right there, and that when that is past the crown guards, that means it's screwed out and that you do not want to be diving with it. So, which is a nice feature. It's very practical. I enjoy that. So we'll pull it out. First position, I'm not going to go through this. Most of you know this. First position, of course, is the date change. Quick set date. No surprise there. It's not 1 in the morning. I haven't worn this watch for a few days. The crown, when you pull it out, does have a little bit of wobble to it. As far as I know, that's completely normal. Don't send it back thinking there's something wrong with it. That's just the way it is. This houses the Orient 40N5A movement, which was actually in the much more expensive Orient saturation diver, which retails over $1,000. So it's a good movement. I've noticed it's fairly accurate. We'll pop it back into the first position there, and then we will give it a wind, and then you can see the power indication dial right there going up. I really like having a power indicator dial. The orientation's a little different. Orient tends to put their logo, they did this on the M-Force as well, they put their logo down at the bottom along with automatic and divers 200 meters, and then down at the bottom you have Japan, the movement number, and then a reference number next to that on the other side of the 6 o'clock. So there's that. We will screw the crown in. I've noticed the crown is a little tricky to screw in sometimes. It tends to want to pop back out. It went in pretty nicely there. No big deal. And let's talk about the bezel. When I first got it, it was very stiff, and I just didn't really think much of it. I do use it quite a bit for cooking. I always like to set my time on this. This one was very difficult to use. It was very stiff. I knew it probably wasn't quite right, but I just lived with it. Wasn't the end of the world. I finally, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I finally sprayed some dry lubricant in there, and now it turns very nice. 120 quick, 120 click, not quick. Lines up nicely. A little bit of back play, but nothing to get too excited about. Great lume, just as good as any Seiko lume in my opinion. Might even be a little longer lasting in my experience. But let's take a look at the lume quick, actually. I'll flip the lights off here. Now this, I have not charged this with anything. It's just been under the LED lighting. So there you can see, glows very well. And it does last a very long time. And I can't say much more about it other than it is, it's a joy to look at night. It'll hold a glow all night. You can see there even the power indicator up by the 1 o'clock. And you can see they put a little detent in the 1 o'clock for the power indicator dial just to make it even. And then you can see down by the 4 o'clock where they cut away for the date, which is something I really like. I don't like dates at 3 o'clock. It gets kind of boring, and very easy orientation. As you can see, the triangle up at the 12, the dashes at the 3, 6, and 9, and that just makes it very easy to read at night. Okay, put the lights back on. All right, so as you can see, signed crown with the Orient logo. It is, I believe it's some sort of laser etching. See how close we can get. There you go, nice touch. Brushed on top of the watch case and then polished on the side. The polishing is pretty good. As you can see, I do wear mine, so it is pretty scratched up already. No big deal. Doesn't bother me one bit. So let's go on to the bracelet. A lot of people don't like this bracelet. I don't mind it. It's an oyster style. It is the slightly cheaper version where it's more of an H-link design. It doesn't bother me really. It's comfortable. Mine did squeak when I first got it. Again, I just sprayed some dry lube on there, and it's been perfectly fine ever since. The finishing matches nicely to the case. And the biggest, probably my biggest complaint with the watch itself is the clasp. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's a lower end clasp. Orient laser etched there. Not very nice looking, but it's a solid clasp, nice and thin. That is the nice part about it. But as you can see, stamped. Not very strong feeling. Not the most confident in that. Does have a diver's extension, and they've somehow made the diver's extension, even though it's much smaller, out of seemingly even thinner stamped metal. I wouldn't trust this for a second, to be honest. It probably would be fine. I wouldn't trust it, but most people, of course, aren't going to be actually diving with this watch and putting it on over a wetsuit, so don't worry about that. Push pins, not a big deal. Some people really freak out about push pins. I don't really see what the big deal is. It's not quite as quick to change them out. Yeah, you got to get the tool out, push it. Big deal? Yeah, I don't think so. Does take a little longer, but honestly, as long as you have a tool to change your bracelets and your watch straps. Honestly, this is a Bergeon, not sure how to say that. Swiss made. This is what a lot of watchmakers use. I want to say this was about $16. And all you need to change out or to adjust the pin is just that little that end right there, and you just push it out. Not a big deal. Bracelet might be a little thin considering the watch is hefty, but again, I don't have many complaints about the bracelet. I actually don't mind it. So, little rattly. That's mostly the clasp. If you put a strap code clasp on there, which I actually do have one, I just don't have the correct pins. I put it on there, wore it for about a week, but it just wasn't in there very secure. That definitely changes the whole feel. So, let's get to probably my favorite part of this watch, and that's the Caseback. I really like the Caseback. It's a very nice engraved Orient logo. You can see they kind of put a wave pattern in there. It's very nicely done. I was shocked. It's probably the most refined part of the watch. To be honest, it's certainly my favorite part of the watch. But it kind of reminds me of like a Seamaster, the back of that, and it's just incredible. I really enjoy that part. I wish they would do that on more of their watches, but of course, probably not the cheapest production, but yeah, I really like that. Should mention solid end links on the bracelet. So like I said, pretty solid bracelet. You just might want to change the clasp out if you don't like it. Or if you're already going that route, you might want to just put a strap go bracelet on. They already make several for it. So, what more can I tell you about? It's a 22 millimeter lug width. Should have mentioned that. By the size, you probably could have deduce that. However, because of the Seiko Sumo with its tiny little 20 millimeter lug width on that big watch, might put into question some of these other divers. But 22 millimeters tapers down to 20, so slight taper. Let me put it on my wrist quick. I have about a 7.5, 7.25 inch wrist, so it wears very nicely on my wrist. So don't mind my hairy arms. So, like I said, very comfortable watch. It is hefty, so it will get a little heavy on the wrist, but it is comfortable. So I think most people will enjoy wearing it. Okay, well, that is the Orient Triton. Should you buy this over? I should also. I'm skipping over things here. I should mention applied indices. Very nice, not just a regular printed dial. Everything. Normally, I wouldn't include this, but since Seiko has such a trouble lining up their chapter rings, you can see there, perfectly aligned at the 12 and the 6 o'clock. I'm not a huge, go in with a magnifying glass and make sure everything lines up kind of watch connoisseur, but some people are, and rightfully so. These are not expensive. Drill bug holes, kind of skipping around here, but makes changing out the bracelet very easy. So that's the Orient Triton. Let me give you my kind of overall thoughts on this watch. I bought it a little bit with my head, not with my heart. I wanted the Seiko Sumo because it's so unique looking. And while this is not a homage or anything of those sorts, it is a little on the slightly boring side, in my opinion. Goes with a very standard bezel design. Pretty standard SKX like dial arrangement. The power reserve indicator obviously sets it apart a little bit, along with the Orient down at the bottom. It's just a little boring to my taste, and so I'm considering selling it. But it has so many features that a lot of watches, even dive watches at this, around this low mid-range to upper entry-level watches just do not offer. Sapphire crystal AR coating, of mid-range movement, I would say. It is a slower beat, as you can see there. But of course, that means the movement itself will actually last longer. 200-meter diver. It is a rated diver, just not ISO rated. It is JIS. So, would I recommend this watch? Absolutely. If you're just looking for a regular dive watch, not anything particularly special, then yeah, I would recommend this watch. If you want something a little different, the Seiko Sumo has a unique look to it. There's some new brands out now. Phoebus, with their dive watches, they have many similar features to this for less, and they are kind of its own thing, whereas this is more of a traditional dive watch. So I don't know. Might sell this one, might not. We'll see. It's a solid watch for the money. So I'll leave it at that. I'm repeating myself. So if you want to check this watch out, I'm not sponsored by anybody, of course, but I would recommend looking it up on Long On Watch. As far as I know, they are the lowest price on it, and of course, they're an authorized seller of Orient. So I would certainly recommend ordering from them. And yeah, if you're looking for maybe an upgrade to an SKX for not incredible amount of money, I would recommend the Orient Triton. Thanks for watching.